good. You don't want to be like me, right? We didn't carry away yet. Okay. Oh, man, I have.
Is it race to see how?
Not at all. It's just a matter of, we're gonna nominate folks today, so I want to make sure that we've got our three lined up.
Did Doug say this?
We've got you, he never reached out. Got you, Phil, yeah, and Betty.
So Jamie's gonna be back down, so whatever.
Sure, we can sit here, yeah. But yes, yeah, late, right, or, yeah. Public comment. You have that. You doing, sir?
Yes, it is.
Okay, just making sure you did. I can totally like
So, sir.
line some of these up with this.
See it?
What's up, man? Did I get a handshake?
I was gonna sit down and shake it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Doug's on the,
Okay. One large project, it's taking 2 years, I'm saying nothing.
I could already know my answer, but off. You can have it on record.
well, it's good to have those. Like going in the center makes more sense to me. So fine.
Thank you, Jim.
All right. Thanks. We will call this meeting to order. We got a comment from Ms. Marjorie Fleming. Marjorie, would you like to make public comment? I'll have you come to the front. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, can you hear me? My name is Margaret Fleming. I live at 5240 North Olive. Basically there, but the office is what you want to. I'm here today to talk about dogs. I'm considered to be the dog park mom in here because I come in here talking about the dog parks. But I'm coming today because I would like to hopefully nothing else be on the agenda or something so that we can get some feedback, especially about Meridian and or Rooster Dog Park. But I'm going to start off with my comments about some negative things. I visit a lot of dog parks. Safety Dog Park has thickets and birds and everything that are getting in our dogs' feet. They're very hard to get out. I don't know if there's some way that the parks, Rex, or whoever does the taking care of the lawn can spray, Chapin, spray, Murphin, even Meridian. I have not noticed it so much at Harrison, but Chapin is the worst. Then you go to Murphin, and then there are a few at Brewster. Now, there's more if you go out by the river, and oftentimes people do take their dogs and walk out there. The other thing is at Merton, I have noticed that when I'm there about twice or 4 times a week, because that's where I live closest to, the trash needs to be dumped more often. It looks really bad when it's all so overloaded and flowing out and there's trash all over around the bins. I mean, it's just seems like it needs to be taken care of, and if we can ever get any more dirt out there, more grass would be very nice. I would like to say, I commented about Harrison Park. They finally got us a bench out there, and it would be nice. It's been 2 or 3 weeks, but the bench hasn't been finished. It's still waiting for the concrete to be poured so that someone could be able to sit there. And it's near a tree and everything, so it makes it really nice. But the new part of the park, where we could utilize that first area before you go up to the very big park where the hills and everything are, it would be really nice if we could, if those, another eventually or something could be put down there, but the one that is there. Also, I noticed that Harrison Park, they have a lot of things that volunteers in the community have donated some of their services towards that park. And I am here mainly because of Rooster and Meridian Dog Park. That is my park, I call it. I've been here since 2020, and that is the dog park I have used. And love very much and have them like a family, a dog park family. And they're very concerned and very frustrated that we haven't gotten anywhere. Though we know it went down for bids once, and now again. And they're fearful because they keep hearing about all the need for money in the other place, and they're worried about their dog park money going elsewhere. So I will be glad to tell them that it is out for bid, and by the 1st of July, I understand. We should hopefully have some contracts. The other thing there is, that's the main thing, just wanting to know where we're at, you know. It's been a while, seems like it's been well over a year or two that we've been feeling and discussing this, and we're just ready for something more. We're happy about the picnic tables, so we can move them and set them out, so that has been helpful. If you need more, we're great to appreciate that. The other thing I want to thank you, and I know that you're starting on the country side, Country Acres Park, and I went by there this morning, it looks gorgeous. Now we just need a fence so we can use it, so, and until you can get our rigging done. So that's all, I'm just here to comment and hopefully find out what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Boy, do you want to answer a few of these things or wait until?
Yeah. I'll do my best. Yes. All right, so in regards to spraying for stickers over at Chapin, Meridian, and we can definitely look into that. Gary's here, so he will put that on his list. Trash needs to be emptied more often at Murphin, and that could be for all of them, but we could probably go double check and see why that is.
It's animal control.
Trash,
The only thing we do there is contract mow.
so maybe we can,
I have addressed that this past week with them.
so there's your answer, is that that particular piece of property is managed by the police department. We do some work out there, but that's to support them. So Gary says that he's already shared that with them, that that trash needs to be picked up more often. I'm sure they have a contractor that's doing that, so I'll have to push on that even harder. Harrison finished the bench. I think we talked a little bit about that. What our staff does is they do projects in regards to time, also the environmental issues, because we can't pour concrete when it's wet and rainy and get our equipment in there. So they might start a project and they're not going to be able to finish it unless the weather is just right and whatnot. So that's what's happened in this situation. They need to pour the concrete and they need to have the right conditions for doing that. But when they do that, that part will be done. Donations for equipment. We had talked a little bit about that just prior to the meeting. What we're going to work on is really finishing. It's not at Harrison, but it's over at Meridian. We get the project done, then from that we can actually start working on doing some other things to liven up that dog park a little bit more. Oliver mentioned Country Acres is started, and we'll get an update on that in the CIP report from later, and as well as Rooster Dog Park.
Thank you, Margaret. Appreciate sharing. All right, we are moving on to.
Hey, Jamie,
Oh, sure, absolutely.
While I have it here. Amy Buster, city clerk, to do your oath of office. I'll administer your oath, and then there's 2 pages in there that you'll have signed. Some of you only have the 2 pages. And I will take those back when you're done. If you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States
States.
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas. Faithfully discharge the duties
Faithfully discharge the duties
of the Board of Park Commissioners for the city of Wichita, Kansas, so help me God.
of the city of Wichita, Kansas, so help me God.
All right, perfect. If you guys could sign the oath and then your acceptance. Take those 2 forms for you. And today's the 10th.
Next, we've got a new item for consideration, the Wichita Community Theater naming of a park space leased to Park and Recreation. Irene, do you want to make your way to the front as well?
All right, thanks, guys. So we've got Irene Hart here with us from the Wichita Community Theater. Just a little bit of background on this project. The Wichita Community Theater approached the Park and Rec Department with an interesting proposal. So they have a piece of land right next to their theater. And the area, the neighborhood around there, in the College Hill neighborhood, they use that space like it's a park. So they proposed that we go ahead and make it a park. So right now, we're leasing it from them, but it is technically leased by us, so it is a park now at this point. And we just need a name for the park. So Irene has a proposal that their board discussed for what they would like the name to be.
And I'm Irene Hart. I'm on the board of Wichita Community Theater, and my job title there is Special Projects Coordinator, which means other duties as assigned. To give you a little bit of backstory, a little bit of information about Wichita Community Theater, we were incorporated in 1951, so we're a long-standing volunteer organization here in the community. They performed for years at Century 2. The Mary Jane Teal Theater is named after one of the leaders of Wichita Community Theater. It's an all-volunteer organization. We have no paid staff. The actors are not paid. None of the crew are paid. So it is truly a labor of love by people who enjoy theater. You'll also find some of the same people in Shakespeare in the Park and at the Keachai Playhouse and a number of other ones where they actually get money. So they must really like us to volunteer their time like that. We do 8 shows a season. Right now, we're in the last week of performance. They perform for 2 weeks. And the next one, I've brought some cards, left them on the table out front. The next play is in July. So hope you can come. It should be a fun evening. A little bit of history about the building and the property. In 1932, Temple Emanuel built the building that's there now that we use as the theater. It was built as the education social building, planning to build a temple next door on the empty space. So that was in 1932, and by 1964, they had bought new property out on East Central and moved the temple operation to that facility. And about that time, they sold it to Wichita Community Theater. For years, we used it as a rehearsal space and still did performances at Century 2, but at some point, which was before my time, they moved out of Century 2. I think it had to do with unionizing the support that recruit people. And since I was a volunteer, we needed to find another location. So since the 1980s, all our performances have been at 258 North Fountain in that 1932 building. Now, a few years ago, three years ago, when all the insurance companies were in an uproar, we lost our insurance, we finally found a new company who said, you've got to post that ground that no trespassing, or we're not going to insure you. So being a volunteer organization, we had board members that said, well, I'll just go out there and post those signs right now without telling the neighborhood who for generations had used that open space as parkland. Needless to say, they were not happy. And we've, there's been a tussle ever since. A recent collaboration with some new residents of the neighborhood. We resulted in talking with Troy and with city staff, and it came up with the idea of us leasing that property to the city so that we wouldn't be as liable for any accidents that occurred on the property, and the neighborhood can still have an open space to play. Just open space. So it's a really tight neighborhood, and the only other open space is south of Douglas. There's a lot of little kids in that neighborhood. So it makes it a really attractive place to be. And I do want to give all kinds of kudos and good things about working with the city. I never heard the word no. It was like, okay, let's see what we can do to figure this out. And since it was a new idea, it took several months, but I never heard the word no. And here we are now with a lease, and now we need to come up with a name. We talked to the neighborhood and solicited names from them. We solicited names from our board members. The board considered all the requests. We had about 14 of them. Some of them were pretty creative names, ranging from an obscure reference to The Hobbit. There were theater-related names like Bard Park, which I liked, and Thespian Park. There were names recognizing the temple and the peace and harmony that exists now in the neighborhood, now that we're all, our needs are all being met about the care and maintenance and access to that property. Our board considered all the requests, and we requested the designation be entitled the WCT, or Wichita Community Theater Community Park. It recognizes the partnership among the city, the neighborhood, and Wichita's community theater, but it confirms the underlying ownership of the property. I think people forgot, after all those generations, they forgot that it really wasn't their land to do something with. But our board felt if we kept the name WCT Community Park, then people would remember that it isn't just, it's not public land, but it can be used by the public. And again, I'd like to recognize that the park staff and the legal department and all those other folks who worked with us to make this happen, because it really is a new and a creative kind of issue. So we recognize, we would recommend that the name become the WCT Community Park, and hope you approve. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I've got a question. It might be for Troy or Nate, but should the name be WCT or Wichita Community Theater Community? What is it? Do you want the acronym?
We wanted the acronym, the neighborhood wanted the sign to be as small as possible. So WCT meant a smaller sign.
And then I guess, and from our staff side, we're going to go with the lease and all that fun stuff.
the lease is already in place. It's already been in place for 3 months.
Maybe.
So we ran out the traps and we have a great partnership in regards to maintenance.
Yep.
Taking all the maintenance, they're helping with that as well. So it's been exciting that we are able to bring a new asset to, well, not new, but keep that asset going.
Absolutely.
And that asset will be a great opportunity for all the kids in the neighborhood. The department's perspective, we really had no impact or really thought process in regards to naming the park.
Sure.
We really wanted the community to come up with it.
Yeah.
And the acronym is something that everybody recognizes, so we don't have a problem with that at all. We can, once the sign is, once it's decided, we can make the sign and get it installed. So it's gonna operate as a city park. We'll put it as a city park sign, but I think it's great to recognize the partnership.
Absolutely. So today you just need, that naming. Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so,
Motion approved.
so Nate, what does that motion need to look like? So we move forward.
I kind of wanted to ask that. Are you going to council?
Yes.
Yeah, so, and that's what I figured. It's just kind of a weird place, 'cause technically our, whatever. But, so this would be, a motion to recommend approval of the name WCT Park.
Motion to recommend approval of WCT Community Park as long as the lease is in effect.
Thank you.
I'll second that. Pick one representative. And this is awesome, Irene.
I do too.
Yeah, we're excited for this.
And so is the neighborhood. let me tell you.
All right, we got a
They
motion.
have been, they had work days where they've gone over and cleaned it up.
Yeah.
Taken out old equipment that was in there and they're just, and I was there and I counted and there must have been 18, 20 kids below the age of 8 who were over there. So I know that they're going to be using it to
That's wonderful.
play in.
Well, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Both same sign? All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Nate. Troy?
So we'll probably get this on the council agenda next 2 or 3 weeks or so. And
Okay, that works. All right, we got a quarterly CIP.
No. It's gonna come, I want to think it's higher. Oh, I got it. Doesn't think pull this together.
Alrighty, here again for another update for CIP projects. So the paper you have in front of you is kind of what we use internally to track projects or kind of manage what's on the website. So I'll just kind of present from the website since that is updated and same information that you all have in front of you, just easier to read. So from the city's website, best way is to go to departments, then go over to Park and Recreation, then over to About Us, and you can scroll on down here to Capital Improvement Program. And then this is the website here. And as a reminder, we have those 5 different sections for the projects, identified, initiated, scheduled, in progress, and completed. Once they identify, that's really when it's in the CIP, of the approved CIP. We have to go back to city council to get it initiated. Once it's initiated, sometimes there's some, again, pre-planning or getting the contractor or on board or getting a consultant on board. So that's kind of been scheduled before it actually gets under construction. So once it's under construction, it goes to in progress. And then after it's been completed, obviously goes into completed projects. You can see right now, since we are somehow already in June. The CIPI get initiated generally in August. So by the time we get to August, probably in September update, this will be full new project for us to go through. So just kind of, you can see them kind of as they move through. So identified Finley Roth, that's probably gonna be here for a while. The improvements that we plan for Finley Roth are pretty large. If you've been ever out in Finley Roth, it's not ADA accessible. There's water fountains, and having gone through a lot of the aquatic stuff, we know that's going to cost quite a bit of money. It's more than the over $1 million that we have here outlined in the CIP. So in order to do it right, we are outsourced, or not outsourced, but trying to help fundraise, get donations, things like that, to help make sure that the project actually is what it probably needs to be and doing justice for that location.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
If we know it's more than the million, does the cost column get updated to accurately reflect?
Sure. Yeah. So we don't have final plans. What was done was a consultant was hired for conceptual plans and ideas. So until we get fully, actually get in there, get people looking at the pumps, get everything identified, actually go through plans, that's when we'll identify how much the cost is. Generally, the cost gets updated once we put it out to bid and we know how much it is. So the cost kind of stays, it's kind of like nice round number until we bid it out and we know how much that. Because that can fluctuate, right? So that's kind of the budget we have for it until it's usually in progress. So the schedule should be round numbers until we get to against schedule or in progress, excuse me. So that will get updated so we get a few steps down the road.
I was just curious when you said $1 million is not enough. Why are we playing with a nice round number of million and not a nice round number of 3 million?
Oh, you mean,
That may be more realistic.
to show how much we actually need.
Right.
Yeah, I think right now, I can't remember what exactly the number was that we had targeted. I think that a few members of the Wichita Parks Foundation, and I believe NAACP and a few other organizations are out there trying to fundraise for it. And so, I don't know really what I usually put, what we usually put in the cost is how much the CIP's put into it until later. And initiated projects, and then the document you have in front of you, I highlighted the name or the title of each project that has been updated just to make it easier for you to looking through every single one. Just kind of show something's changed. We recently initiated Pawnee Ferry Park facility improvements. That is for, you can see that here. That one is if you've been out there, it gets vandalized pretty often. That building out there in Pawnee Ferry Park. The idea is the one that I'm sure it had fire in it, so that may be the one. But so yeah, it's not great out there, but so we have $400,000 in the CIP allocated towards that. We have $400,000 planned in the next CIP for the improvements to that facility as well. So this, I guess you can call it first phase, will be to help provide security improvements. It'll also be to help do whatever renovations we can inside. $500,000 or $400,000, not exactly a whole lot for renovating that size of space, and also just the damage that's happened inside there. So we have an on-call architect that I don't think we have under contract yet, but working with them to get under contract to get some initial plans together so that we can get some improvements done. But now that we have the project initiated, that means that we have basically an account for that has money in it that we can start spending the money. And so until it gets initiated, we can't touch the money. One of the other ones down here that I noted in your packet that has changed, aquatic facility improvements, that started, began starting that and looking into that a bit more. Plan is to get someone under contract here soon. I don't know exactly, the plan would be in the next, month or so to get someone under contract to help do some design work. Really the main thing for aquatics is that we need a centralized storage facility for all the chemicals right now. Where we're storing them, which is over at Gander Mountain, it's just not the right place to have them. So we're developing a plan for a better storage location for those chemicals. And that's what part of the improvements are going to be for. The rest of the money will be going towards the actual improvements to the bathhouses and things along those lines. But obviously, we're in the middle of pool season, so we can't exactly go in there and start working on things. So that's what that one's kind of working on. So it'll start early in summer 2024, and you'll probably start to see this move over by the time I come back in September into schedule, or at least a portion of that into schedule. We may start to break this out in a couple other projects as the funding is being used for a variety of different things. One for the chemical storage, and then maybe each site gets its own project, so you guys can track it, people can track it a little bit better. We have done that in the past on a couple other projects, so that may make sense for us to do it on this one. The projects and initiatives that are probably going to be moving here soon would be at the Chisholm Creek Park North. That's probably going to move into the schedule here very soon. We're working with the local design firm to get them under contract to design the trail around Chisholm Creek Park North. We use a grant for that. Yeah, it's a 50-50 match. I think it's $281,000, and then we match that with walking kind of funds to get that one going. We do need some money in the upcoming CIP to help get that finished, but we are committed to, obviously we're committed and we'll pay for it. So yeah, that'll be good around to the Creek Park. If you haven't been out there, I recommend it. It's a neat little park that I think people forget about. Park wetlands, that's another one. Again, that was used for land water conservation fund grants, same as Chisholm Creek Park North. That one will be moving here soon. We're planning to put out an RFP for design build for that project. We usually do RFPs for playgrounds, and since this one will be for playground, we plan on doing it that way, but it's kind of a unique playground since we have some grants for it. You know, you don't really get to have playgrounds next to the wetlands all the time, at least down here. So that one should be moving here soon. So this initiated project should start to get a little bit thinner here by September, and then we'll have that identified projects a little bit more heavy to see how it gets approved. Schedule. This is kind of where projects live when they're under design, or they are out to bid before they get into under contract and they move into in progress. So quite a bit of good projects here and scheduled some hot, I guess, notable ones. One of them being the 2023 and 2024 dog parks. That is out to bid. We have a due date for that, or the bid's closing on June 28th. So that's a Friday. For a little background on that, we had the 2023 money initiated, plan to try to break this out in phases. We didn't get any successful RFPs for that, partially because it's on top of a landfill, a former landfill, and we didn't have a full set of plans put together for it because we were trying to get it pushed through. So now that we have all the money initiated and available, we had Garver do design work on it, and it's out in bid right now. So we plan and hope to have good bids in for that, so we can get rolling here soon. Country Acres is there highlighted on your sheet of paper. Or it might go back, pull down for everyone else in the room. But Country Acres is Country Acres is in MADCD review. When we have new parking lots, MADCD wants to review them, and they need a review so that it meets any standards that we have. Just to make sure we're not, we're providing parking for these uses, right? So MADCD is reviewing Country Acres. We hope to have that back here later this week, and then we'll put that out to bid. So by September, hopefully, and I plan to have it already been scheduled in progress. So Country Acres and the dog park should be moving into in progress by the next time I'm here. Downtown restrooms and hydration stations, which I think is further up. That one is also an MAVCD review right now because the restroom station, the structures are actual physically structures that people can be inside of. It has electricity, water stuff, so MAVCD is reviewing that. Another one I have highlighted here on your sheet is actually one that I want to talk about is LW Plat Master Plan. I think that one's been sitting here, or it had been sitting here and scheduled for quite a while because it's been under design. But that is out to bid right now, and that also has a dog park in it, and it has an inclusive playground, so that is out for bid right now, and we're gonna have that back on June 28th. So that was in bid to in progress here shortly. So a lot of movement here on scheduled projects. Splat pad maintenance is probably going to hang out here just for a little bit. Hopefully that should start to move in progress once the splat pad and everything start to get closed. One thing to note, across the park system, we have 3 locations where we'll be putting retaining walls in. One of them is at Furman Hill, the other one is at Garvey. The next one's over at Sethna. Again, trying to make sure pathways are safe, playgrounds are safe, things like that. Both of this is just erosion that's happening. This nothing's really about to fall over or anything. It's mostly just to maintain our assets a little bit better, walking paths, things like that.
Because of the river?
No. Furman Hill is because of the whole 18 on this golf course, the giant mound thing that creeps into the drive that goes through. So in order to kind of make that safer for everyone driving, bicyclists, everything like that, putting that back. Garvey has a section that is eroding down into one of the pathways that leads down to the boat ramp area, and then, or excuse me, the drop in along the river. And then over at Cessna, we have, there's kind of a small little retaining wall there now. It's not great, it's like 6 inches tall, but water keeps running down the hill onto the playground, and it's moving all the EWF safety servicing for the playground. It's like dispersing it everywhere. So we have to keep popping it off and moving it around. It's something that we just need to take care of and help make that a little bit nicer. In progress. So it's always fun when they're in progress, because that means that stuff's getting built. Brewer Rec Center recently moved for McAdams. It got bid out. We have a contractor. It's almost under contract here, EV Construction, to get that rolling. I think there's moving on that. We're going to talk about it now or later.
So there's actually a groundbreaking scheduled on Friday, 9 o'clock over at the Brewer Recreation Center. We'd love for everybody to come. Yeah, Penny, if you could send that out to all the park board members and to the foundation.
Great. We had to play a little waiting game with FEMA on that one. I don't think we had any comments or any issues or concerns about adjusting the floodplain. But that one, I know everyone here is very excited for that to get rolling, and it came in under budget. So that always makes life silently for everyone involved. So that's always a good thing. 2024 athletic field renovations over at McAdams Park. We have a little bit of money here for that. We just recently got quotes in to replace the scoreboard out there. We're evaluating those, making sure everything's all squared away with those. We plan to get that going here soon for a new scoreboard over at the Barry Sanders football field in McAdams. Park Wetlands Phase 3. Hutton is the contractor for that one. They are planning on getting started here very soon. The biggest thing is lead time for the boardwalks out there, for the steel boardwalks, just the fabrication, it just takes time. So there'll be movement out there for Park Wetlands. That should be done by the end of the year, assuming there's no issues or concerns, but tracking for end of the year for Park Wetlands to be open. So hopefully that means that all the artwork that we have out there, all the lights and everything like that, absolutely beautiful when it starts snowing in the winter. Let's see. The LW Flat Master Plan, bridge abutments, that is ongoing right now. I think they should be mobilizing a crane to move and adjust those bridges here. I think probably it may be next week. It'll probably end up being next week when they start mobilizing a crane. They should be done out of there. I think right now we're tracking for before 4th of July. So that's great news. They're way ahead of schedule on that one. Let's see. Edgemore Park is going to be wrapping up here soon. The biggest thing for Edgemore is waiting on trellises to get delivered for that plaza over there. If you haven't been by there, it looks great. I suggest you go by. It really changes that plaza. Hopefully everyone can remember what it used to look like because it looks a lot different now, a lot more welcoming. Let's see. I think one thing to note that I have highlighted on there for in progress is the security over at the Seasons venue. We were starting to wrap up and get more of these projects done to have more security systems out in the park system. So Katie's been doing a great job with those. So you can see in the package I handed you that there's a lot of these security systems that been moved over to completed. So thank you, Katie, for all of your work and effort on managing all those involved with getting security systems installed. One other great thing that has happened since I've last seen you all is O.J. Watson Park. I think they're taking down fencing right now for kids to go play on the playground over at O.J. Watson. That's on the west side, so it's by the Seasons venue. I think it looks great. It's going to be a great playground. We, are converting a lot of our playground to ported place PIP surfacing, makes it a lot safer. Well, it makes it easier for everyone to get around. It's more accessible and things like that. So I think this was a great project and looking forward to seeing everyone use it. The other one I would like to note is Pat Garcia, the fitness park over there, fitness court at Pat Garcia. There is a ribbon cutting. Somehow I think that was about a month ago. Over there. So if you haven't had a chance, I just highly suggest you go by and see the fitness court. It looks great, and I think it's a great asset for the community. So would encourage you to go drive by Pat Garcia, or kind of look at some of the photos. There was some videos online, and I know there was news people out there. Otherwise, most of these projects as we go down are just kind of older projects that have gotten done, like NASCAR turf. That's been done for quite a while. All those sorts of things are kind of still on here just to kind of help remind people what got done, like Chest Drive Lewis, things like that. So if you have any questions, I will stand for them, or comments, questions, concerns. Yeah.
Questions? I'll have some questions. Y'all stay busy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Roy, you're up. We've got a new park designation conversation.
Yep. Last time we just had, the big question, Troy, was really around in the community and the naming of those parks.
Yep, so, I do have a bit of an update on that, since you did direct us to talk to the community about it. So for the Delano Greenway, I reached out to the neighborhood association, the Delano United, Greenway Alliance, Historic Delano. These groups have all been meeting regularly for quite a while now. And so they are the ones that actually came up with the name Chisholm Trail Parkway. And I had seen that referred to on some documentation and just kind of pulled that in. So they are fully in support of this name. And they said that they've been discussing it for so long, they can't imagine a single person would be against it. So, we've got their support. And then while I was discussing with them, they also had requested that we name the playground that'll be designed there after Candace Talby, who is their former president. She passed away in 2020, and she was always a strong advocate for special needs individuals, getting the appropriate amenities, and she supported the community in so many different ways through volunteer work and through these boards. So that could be up for consideration as well. I don't know if we want to wait until the playground is complete before formally doing anything with that, but I did want to mention that because they were very supportive of naming the park, the Chicken Trail Parkway, but then the playground after Candace. For the Riverside Community Garden, I did reach out to that gardening group. They will be discussing it and will get back with us. They were part of the garden tour that happened last month, so they did not have a formal meeting. So they'll be meeting later this month to discuss it and to come up with some names if they want something other than the Amethyst Park that I had suggested. And then the Redwood Trail and the Prairie Sunset Trail, I don't have any updates. The names for those are just pretty straightforward: Redwood Trail Parkway, Prairie Sunset Trail Parkway. So there is a recommendation if we want to move forward with the other three and defer the action for the Riverside Garden space. Troy and I will answer any questions you might have still.
Troy, could we move forward with all of them and just include a note that, or include an amendment or something on the Amethyst Park or the Riverside Garden Park? Because I would hate to take it 3, but not 4. Like the idea is to get them into the park system so that we can start providing them maintenance and get them plugged into the park resources, correct? The naming is afterthought.
I was a little confused, I thought last month, we were told that the city's already doing maintenance on those.
Yeah, but we're not doing like the whole park, so they're not treating them the same way that they would treat a park.
And that was my question last month.
So let me clarify.
Okay.
So we, by the, it's at whatever level that we discussed, whether it's a park or not.
Okay.
So adding it to the park system helps us with a lot of different situations. Increases our acreage, increases our visibility within the community that this is a park. Also in regards to capital projects, gives us more leverage. Also helps us with police is able to actually enforce laws. So there's a lot of different reasons why there are all places that we maintain already as parks. So why don't we just treat them as parks, include them as parkland? And thoughts wasn't necessarily what's going to be the name of those, but we just wanted to get those into our system. But for the most part, they all have pretty much impact on the names. Tomorrow I have a meeting with the community garden first thing in the morning to talk about this in particular. So I would like to bring all 4 of them together at the same time.
That would be my hope.
My only concern being on Prairie Sunset and on the Red Bud is that there's benches that are in disarray. There's nonprofit groups, including this Saturday, another nonprofit group working on Prairie Sunset. There's one on the Red Bud. My question has been within city limits, what is the actual maintenance that the city's doing? Are these nonprofits out there trimming the trail, trimming tree limbs? I want to be able to quantify when you say the city's doing maintenance.
Doing maintenance according to standards that we have within the agreements that we have. So the example is the Prairie Sunset Trail. We have a contract, an agreement with them that they're going to do a certain amount of maintenance and operations. We support that whenever we can and need to. We have provided them resources in the past, whether it's been equipment, whether it's been materials or whatnot. The agreement that we have in place is that they're responsible for that maintenance. But if it becomes parkland, that just gives us, then there's no question about who is responsible for that ultimately. Then instead of them having to figure out, is it somebody from Public Works, which could be 2 or 3 different people, it's the Parks and Recreation Department. That means the Parks and Recreation Department could support and advocate for these parks and push them as we need to. Finding other partners as well to help maintain them, because we don't do everything ourselves, and we need to have partners to get things done. Also, and it tells that narrative, if we don't have these partners, we need to come up with some funding to take care of them. So it's in the Parks and Recreation Department designated as a park. It's a lot easier to do that. So for all those things, what I was looking for is an ordinance. That way we can put them in our park system and have ordinances in place for the activities or illegal activities that happens within there. Have the police help us with enforcement. There's a lot of good things in regards to making this happen. We already seen it, with them, supervise them, partner with folks on all these pieces of property. So make it parkland.
I don't have an issue with it, I think. Nate, does this recommendation, I see that it says deferring the action of naming Riverside Garden Space. That just means then that next meeting in July, we can name that park.
Yeah, the way I kind of understood the recommendation is it almost kind of separates out, we're designating these 4 as parkland. Then for naming side, we know 3 of them, but we're deferring action on the naming. The designation though, part goes to all of the properties, so we can get that. And I think that's a great way to approach it.
So I would make a motion that staff recommendation that the Board of Park Commissioners recommend to the City Council designate these properties for use as a park and as the official naming committee for the park properties to name them as follows, deferring the action of the naming Riverside Garden Space. So the Chisholm Trail Parkway, Redbud Trail Parkway, and the Prairie Sunset Trail Park. Does that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's always nice when they're written out, so.
Yeah.
I second that.
Do we have other questions or comments on this?
My big one is just, I'm hoping, since we can't quantify or put on paper, that by doing this, the quality of those trails. Because
I don't think that'll go down. I think.
So the efforts to build these trails was all predicated on partnerships. So a lot of the due diligence and responsibility falls on our partners. Make it happen. We can work with them to increase the standards. If they can't do it, then we need to do it. To do that, we would have to create more resources.
So like to clarify, because they're parks now, in theory, you could include them in the park CIP versus previous years, you wouldn't have been able to do that. So we could, in theory, we can advocate better for the resources needed to improve those trails and connect them and do all that fun stuff and work with partners like the Park Foundation, because it is a park.
Formality and a specific point of contact, essentially.
Yeah. Yes, but Nathan, I hear you.
because I'm just always hung up on this word. City's already doing the maintenance. I understand the city shows up the dump truck and gives some rock. And then it's 50 volunteers moving it with the wheelbarrows.
So the city is responsible for maintenance. How we do it,
Sure.
there's no different ways of doing that. So what mentioned, this action helps make sure that quality doesn't get any worse. So
Question? Comments? All those in favor of adopting these parks? Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Let's move forward, Troy. All right, we move on to subcommittee for the master plan. Troy? Yes. Got 3 names for you, but do you want to spell out what we're doing?
So Katie's been working really, really hard in regards to creating major points of what this, gosh, my mind is somewhere else today because I got another project going on. the proposal. So the special items that we want to make sure that's included in there. We've done a lot of research. We've also looked at other RFPs from across the country. And so we just want to spend time with committee going over what we've come up with our research to see if that's something that really resonates well with the board. That way that we can make sure that when we come forward with it, we've had these discussions and might have answered any other questions prior to bringing it here, or highlighting questions and find the answers. So that's kind of where we're at.
And those meetings, they'll schedule them with the committee. That was one of the questions that one of the committee members was asking, was when those would be scheduled. So I would imagine it's around their availability.
Yes, more than likely, we'll probably do virtual meetings.
Sure.
Because I think it's a lot easier for everybody to attend.
Sure.
I don't foresee more than 2 meetings.
Okay.
I think one is just, here's what we've learned, here's what we've researched, here's what the outcomes could be and should be. Feedback, come back and meet, answer any questions, see if there's anything else more that we need to discuss. Hopefully the second meeting, there's some decisions. If not, we go to the third meeting.
Okay, perfect. I got 3 names for you from the Board of Park Commissioners that reached out and connected with. So I've got Bill Simon, Eddie Honestock, and Nate McClure. Board.
Bill, Nate, and Eddie. All right, thank you. We will set up a couple of meetings with them. In fact, they don't all have to be there at the same time. If we need to, we can. But rather meet together. So
That's my mistake. If we can do it virtually, then that's even, I just, if it's on my week, I travel, so.
good deal.
Thank you, Ron. Look at that guy, there's not a problem. All right, we got a finance update, Brandon. No finance update, okay.
Share, we share why, share with you all. So we had the cyber,
The money came in.
we had the cyber attack. Cyber attack has really wreaked havoc in regards to our abilities to bring in income and also make sure that we're tracking everything. We've finally been able to get access to the system, and we will be updating things this next couple of months or whatnot. So next month we'll have an update for you.
Well, we have an idea of like how much revenue was lost.
We could. Frankly, I don't think we've lost any. We were still able to operate for a short period of time. We could only take cash or checks, and we were able to take credit cards. But that might be the only thing that kind of slowed us down.
Sure.
But for the most part, I think we were doing okay.
I love it. Okay, do we have a communications update, Troy?
I don't have any communications from the council or city manager to you, and there was no communications from the board going up, so.
Okay. Perfect. And Katie, you're up again.
So I have an update on social media. I can still only access this on my phone because the city decided to block Facebook. So here's an update on our other accounts for all of our pages. Just kind of steady growth as usual, no huge jumps on any of these pages. For the Wichita Park and Recreation, the main page, we have, sorry, I'm trying to find my notes in my filing papers. Okay, so we had, of course, the aquatics opening, the big thing for May, as expected. So our overall page reach for this page was 108,000 in May, which is up 42% from the previous month. The top post was about Splash Pad opening on May 17th. That reached 38,000 people just with that post alone. 600 reactions, 140 comments, 75 click-throughs to our website, and over 500 shares. So people are very excited about Splash Pad. And one note on that as well, we've been really pushing the app for information about flag pads, since those do change from day to day, which ones are open, due to some maintenance issues, sometimes close it for a few hours or for a day at a time. So we've been pushing that on the comments section when people are saying they're not sure if something's open, we'll just say go to the app, it's up to date at all times. And then the next post, just for reference, that top one was 38,000, the next post was about the pools opening on May 27th, that one reached 16,000. So both of those are still getting a lot of traction. Watson Park, May didn't have quite as much reach, it was down 54% from the previous month, but I did want to highlight this post from April, since I didn't present last month, that the South Pond was stocked with fish, and that was shared almost 300 times. So people are very excited about the new fishing opportunity they've got at Watson Park. Nassau Park, the top post was just about online registration coming back up. We shared that across all of our pages. Once we were able to start taking registrations online and taking card payments again. So that one reached about 1,000 people, but overall activity is up. And we're going to continue to see it go up over the summer because Nassau Park is programmed most weekends throughout the summer. For the Open Streets page, we did have ICT Nomar on Cinco de Mayo, so that was the big push for May, even just the beginning of May on that page. But we saw about 26,000 people saw our posts that month. And then Golf Wichita, the top post was about text closing because of Winter Hill. So Shannon did a really good job posting this informational video that Jesse recorded for explanation of why that was closed. So we tried to stay proactive about why things are closing and making sure that open line of communication is present. But that was shared across the pages and reached about 6,000 people. So it was good to get that information out. And then finally, one more plug about the app. There's a QR code there. If you haven't downloaded it yet, we're at about 1,700 downloads already. So we've passed our initial goal for that. So we're really doing good about getting that information out. And I will stand for any questions you might have.
Questions for Dave?
So I'm sure there's about 300,000 cell phones in Wichita, so that's how many apps should be out there. So I know all you guys have downloaded the app.
Thank you, Katie. All right, we've got, that was you, Reggie. Are you doing recreation? No. All right. Jesse, you're up, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Go. I was here last month. We couldn't access anything, so I'll go through the round report and a kind of quick snapshot of the financials first. There. Okay, just like everybody's been talking about with the cyber attack, our biggest challenge was not being able to take credit cards, and we also could not do online booking basically for the entire month of May. So the golfers were really quick to catch on and know that they needed to bring cash. The problem we had, they were bringing cash for their green fee and their cart. They weren't bringing extra cash. So we definitely saw a little bit of a drop in food and beverage, the merchandise, all the supplemental revenues. So all in all, though, rounds year to date, we're almost even with last year. We're about 1,000 behind last year, considering how good last year was. And up to this point last year, there was virtually no rain, and we've had quite a few rain days this year. So, and Tex was closed for 5 days this month. So, May. So, all in all, pretty happy with where we stand on rounds. Tex, you can see, was down, but they probably lost 1,000 rounds in May because of the closure. So, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Looking at May alone, we were down about 2,000 rounds. Again, with the rain and all of the issues, I'm actually fairly pleased with where we came out. We went into this cyber attack situation. It was pretty scary, trying to figure out with 300 transactions per day at each course. How are we going to navigate this? But I want to give kudos to staff and communications team to help get the word out and send as much notification as we could out to let people know, bring cash, here's the situation. I can say that I've never seen so many phone calls with not being able to do online booking. We needed 2 people manning 4 phones at every course every day. There was not 1 second the phone wasn't ringing for a month. So again, staff, great job. Park rentals, we are just behind last year, but since we're down a little bit in rounds, that makes sense. We also, with the rain, when the course is cart path only, a lot of people choose to walk because you basically walk just about as much anyway. So that's about where I would expect that to be, pretty close to last year. I think by the end of the year, we'll end up catching up and passing last year's numbers. Food and beverage, even with everything that happened, we still are up about 15,000. All in all, Sims had a big increase with the renovations. They've been on around and trying to offer new stuff, really catching on. So all in all, again, happy there as well. The driving ranges are up 13,000 this year over last year. We did do increase to the price of the range balls earlier this year. They went up $1.50 for a large bucket, so that there's a little bit that you can attribute to that, but overall the ranges are, I mean, if they're open and they're not underwater, they're aligned from one end to the other, which is great. MAC first tee, when they have their classes, we have to close the range for them. That's part of the agreement, and with their numbers continuously increasing the junior programs that they're doing, which is a great thing. The side effect is it does close the range to the public. So we would have a lot more revenue. That's why it's a little bit behind the other 2. And then total revenue, if you look at the month of May, 728,000. If you take basically 130,000 out of that, we did $600,000 in cash. That's virtually 0 credit card sales in that number, it was a little bit scary knowing how much money was. We kept it all and got it to the bank. We're in good shape. So I really think we would have probably been really close to the $800,000 number, which last year in June, I think we were at 806. And I think that was the biggest month we've ever had. So I expect this month that's our goal. We're trying to take that down. For the year, we are nearly 200,000 up over last year. So all things considered, I feel pretty good about that. Now we do have a lot of unexpected challenges. The post, I hate that our biggest social media post was of no grass in the fairways, but all the golf courses in this area, this entire region that have Bermuda or any warm season grass are struggling with that. It's definitely not just us, the private country clubs, all the courses in this area. The PGA Tour tournament that was in Dallas 2 weeks ago, it looked just like Texas. I mean, it's just the weather did what it did this winter. And we're trying our best to overcome that challenge. So at Tex, he had already put down a full application pre-emergent. So if you try to seed that Bermuda back in, it's not going to germinate. So there we had an opportunity at the end of May to use some equipment that someone would basically let us borrow to sprig the fairways. We decided this is our chance. We took advantage of that. It did kind of mess the ground up a little more than we expected, and then you have to keep it soaked after. So our plan was to close just for a week. You keep a lot of grass coverage really wet, it's not a big deal. But when you basically till it up and then keep it wet, it's very muddy. So this past Saturday was the 10-day mark. We started cutting back on the water to start drying it out. In order to at least give the golfers some option to play at Tex, we've converted it into a par 3 course. So we put tee boxes by the cart path where they don't have to get in the fairway. We've made every hole par 3, made scorecards just like they were playing a regular course. As soon as it dries out enough where we're going to keep the carts off the fairway, but they can at least walk out and hit shots. It shouldn't mess anything up. As soon as we can get to that, we'll be open. The good news is the sprigs are definitely starting to take. You can see they're really starting to pop, and I think that coverage it'll spread pretty quick with the heat and the humidity that we have coming up. So it's a short-term problem to try to create long-term solutions. So and then at Mac and Sim, they have Bermuda fairways as well. they had applied pre-emergent, so they had not applied pre-emergent, not full force. So we tested some areas with seeding. The seeds started to take, so we're going to see those kind of the same process in a different, less intrusive way. So it's a challenge. We're doing our best to try to overcome, and I think in the next few weeks we're going to have some drastic improvement at all four courses. Couple of quick updates today. They just wrapped up the Corn Ferry qualifier for the Wichita Open at Auburn Hills. We had about 84 players playing for 4 spots. I just looked at my phone. It looked like it was going to be a 7-way playoff for the last spot, and then somebody came in with a 9 under 63, or 60, yeah, 63. So that bumped them out. So we got the four players straight up. So that's a great honor. The host that event, it brings a lot of attention. I was out there most of the day, and we had a lot of spectators out. It's just a really cool event to host at one of the city courses. So that was a big success today. And then a quick update on junior golf. We are definitely in full force with junior golf. Wichita Junior Golf Foundation programs on Mondays and Tuesdays. They have about 120 kids at each course each day. And everything's going great. We finished Shook a Kid on Golf last week, which every course had 12 kids for 2 hours 2 hours every day. We've got the junior tour. We just wrapped up the second week out of 6 for that. It's competitively. First Tees program continues to expand and add classes, and then we also at Tech are doing like a player development class. It's more for kids that are looking to try to compete, play on a team, a little bit more serious camp, focused more on competitive play. So everything's packed, full, going great. So that's where we're at. Any questions I can answer for you?
It's if there's another winter kill like this, because I mean, the Zoysia did way better than the Bermuda did, from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
The Zoysia's kind of, it did better. Is there consideration to move on if this happens again? Just try to seed in Zoysia, or?
Yeah, we've talked about that with golf. We're trying to figure out a plan. It's not an easy process. It's not a cheap process. The other thing is it's very hard to find right now. Even if we decided we want to do this, we've got the money, we wouldn't be able to find the seed probably.
Old Hills, I think, has bought it all. That's
yeah, exactly.
3 acres of it or something like that. Yeah.
I definitely, that's something I would love to do. So with golf, we're going to continue that discussion and see if we can figure out.
It looks like the kill at Auburn, I think through time, I guess you could seed it some, but it's going to be a good thing because all the Bermuda's kind of burnt out now, and that Zoysia should just move right in.
Right. So, even at Auburn, number 18 is the worst fairway. They sodded Bermuda there a couple years ago, I guess, and it
finally took.
It does late in the year, but it struggles. And then right now with the winter kill, 18 is by far the worst fairway.
Yeah. That they put Bermuda actually in there too because they couldn't get Zoysia.
Right.
Something to do with the dirt, soil or something.
Yeah, the dirt from the pond, I think, is how they used it.
18 is not as bad as I thought it was going to be when I played it yesterday. So.
Oh, you played good.
Yeah, it's a good shape. Mac wasn't, Mac T-Box's greens are phenomenal.
That's all right.
And the rough is phenomenal. I mean, you just put fairways in there and you've got a top-notch golf course. Yeah,
that's it. Sim and the greens are awesome, and you just got to get to them.
Got to get to them, yeah.
Yeah, just play through the rough.
Give everybody a little square, a little artificial turf. Here you go.
I don't have any other questions. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Jesse. Y'all are doing great. Here, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Ben. All right, so I'm gonna start out with the maintenance section. Don't have PowerPoint slides to go with this, but doesn't mean that we're more busy. But one of the things we had in May was the goats come back from our system, the intentional grazing, the restoration grazing goats. So they did an area, about a 3 acre area just west of Botanica.
And so we're going to use that as a piece of the puzzle for control of some undisturbed species in that area and get that opened up a little bit. The refuse crew has been very, very busy. In the span of January through May this year, they have collected 31.36 more tons of refuse than they had during the same time period in 2023. Just in May, they collected 46.67 tons, which is 11 tons more than 2023. So they're being very good. And I think we're having some reasons those numbers are up is we have better staff and we have better equipment than we did at that time. So those two factors really do make a difference. We've assisted several volunteer cleanups along the river. Cleared 122 illegal dumping locations in May, and the refuse is scheduled to work on Saturday and Sunday this week for the Juneteenth McAdams, the Juneteenth celebration there at McAdams and some other high use issues and locations. The internal maintenance crews, the mowing, that continues on 7 to 14-day cycles. We've completed shrub replacements and renovations along the river corridor, keeping the plains. We do manual watering in some of the locations where irrigation is insufficient or breaks and has been repaired, whereas repairs are ongoing, but the new plants still need water. So that takes time and effort and attention. We've started the mowing riverbanks in the assigned areas, so that's going to make the river areas look better. Fertilizer applications in Central Riverside, around the Drury Museum, Tennis Center, areas like that. And then a lot of overtime is being worked and scheduled where we've had contractor back out or failure or whatever the situation might be. We're trying to keep those areas knocked down in the best way that we can. But we're still in that area, still in the internal services, still looking for vacant positions, so spread the word. Next, that is the maintenance section on forestry. 4 major storm or wind events in May. Almost half of our activity in the month of May was storm response. So that really hampers knocking down that backlog of work that we had. But we have to take care of the emergencies. We have to keep the public as safe as possible. Lots of inspecting, pruning, and removals with emergencies. MABCD inspections are up significantly, and we take care of logs. 50 loads have been hauled out, and that is with all the problems that we had with our. So a lot of work is going on with that. Stump grinding contract continues. That is ongoing. My projection is that it will be completed prior to the deadline, which is October 1st. So that should wrap up then. We obviously have the Lucy maintenance as our work order system that we have to keep that in line, and the cyber attack kept us out of that system. So we have a lot of work to do to update that system. And then other support activity, there was a dead pine in the area where Riverfest food court was going to be, so we went ahead and took that out and made that area look a little better for Riverfest. Go ahead.
I saw the sawdust.
Did. Evidence. So we're going to continue to respond to any emergencies that come across. Hopefully the stump grinding contract will wrap up in June, maybe July. And then obviously we keep our priorities going on. And then we're also going to take care of a few dead trees that are in the area where Juneteenth is going to take place. So in that footprint, there's some one fairly large and a couple small dead trees in there. So we're going to take those down for safety and just the overall look of the park. So that done. Construction, special projects, they're busy as well. They have a number of accomplishments. Various signs have been created, some installed, some are waiting to be installed. Benches are being dealt with. We had an issue with discussion about a bench earlier. That one is certainly on the list to be done. Let's see, we had an investigation go on because we had a big limb. It looks like a tree. You can see that second picture, but that is just a limb off of a tree laying on the playground. So that whole playground had to be investigated and any damage identified and evaluated to see if the playground is safe. It's determined to be the playground is safe for use, but there are some long-term repairs that will have to be made to just keep it up to tip-top shape. But there's nothing in there that puts anyone at risk of the injury. The system's not going to fail for normal use just because that happens. So had to get through that, and does installation of new zipline parts and get other playgrounds back on schedule and up to date. Graffiti removals, safety inspections, vandalized signs, lots of vandalized signs, whether the sign needed to be replaced or just cleaned. That happened. And then got concrete, the holes in the concrete slab around the O.J. Watson playground drilled so the water can seep out and leave out like it's supposed to with that poured in place paving. No, it's not paving, it's poured in place surfacing. Factory. When we have activities or events, whether there's a showmobile or chairs, tables, picnic tables, someone has to bring that and pick it up and store it. And this crew does that. And they did that a lot in May. We had the part for the people. We had several different activities that I'm just lost the name of. 2 showmobile sets, 50 chairs, 10 banquet tables for the open street snow barn. And then other activities like fixing shade tops at the aquatic facilities, working with dog parks, satellite sports complex. They do repairs like this one, the extracting correct bolts around pools and get those set for new bolts. So just all these kinds of maintenance activities this crew handles, and they do a great job. See page 2 of folder, support activity. They just do a lot of stuff. Provide the aviation showmobile. Yeah, this is the part for the people. 126 chairs, banquet tables, picnic tables, generator, inflatables, all that for the party people. That was a really big event, a very successful event. I heard there was over 5,000 people that came through there. That was a really successful event. So providing all that to support the activities is a major part of what we do. And I think that they need a recognition for all that they do. So I want to say kudos to them, good job. They delivered picnic tables to Riverfest. And then all the things that we need to get done here in June. The tennis courts at Sycamore, rain, weather conditions, ground conditions have kept us out of that. It's ongoing. We've started it, but it's just been too wet to get back in. And in combination with that project, the construction of the sand volleyball court at Evergreen has been on hold because of the same reasons. Lots of different stuff planned. I don't know, you can read it. I'm not going to go through each and every one. There's just too many we're going to be doing. But obviously, we're going to be responding to any graffiti and vandalism reports, and we'll continue safety inspections. throughout the month. So do I have any questions for maintenance?
How many more pine trees do you have to cut down? No, there's still quite a few that are dead.
Oh, yeah.
Marks.
Oh, there's a ton of pine trees that are dead, and the live ones are dead, they just don't know it.
Right. No, you gotta count how many.
Who's gonna tell them?
They'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out.
So we're actually doing quite a bit of work to find new pines that actually do work here. And it takes time. But a portion of our tree order every year is some type of pine that we're just trialing, that we heard of success. We work with K-State quite a bit, the extension service and other suppliers and growers, and we want to put pines in our parks. That there's a lot of aesthetic value to that. There's not much aesthetic value to dead pines. So it's tough, but we do try.
What species would you be looking at?
One of the species that we've had quite a bit of success with in terms of its overall health is the loblolly pine. And then we have longleaf, and there's a limber pine, and that's a white pine. I don't think it likes the fluctuation of temperature that we have in the winter time, so we haven't had as much success with that. But the loblolly is doing well, but there are challenges with the loblolly in terms of supply. And so we've had some challenges with that, but we're.
So the species that the light's taking out, which one is it?
The nematode attacks most aggressively the Scott pine and the Austrian pine. And then you have tip blight and other problems that go along with that. But the nematode is transferred by a bark beetle. Bark beetle is attracted to a stressed pine. There aren't really any pines in this state that are stressed. So there you go. But it has been proven that loblolly pines can basically coexist with the nematode. There have been trees that have been tested, loblolly pines that have been tested, the nematode is present, but isn't killing the tree like it does in the Scots pine. I mean, the population just explodes and clogs everything up and it dies of drought from the inside out. So working on it.
Questions? All right, I would like to add in regards to how much we support special events. And people always are talking about quality of life, quality of place, and a lot of it really can measured by special events, by the activities. I get questions all the time. Can we deliver chairs? Can we get the stage out? And all these things require extra man hours. That's not necessarily budgeted. So we're trying to find the right balance. But over the past 10 years, I've seen more and more special events, more different activities going on, grassroots stuff, volunteers, nonprofits, for-profit. Good example is coming up this weekend is, or the weekend after is, Wade is putting on Fest, and they're using NASCAR Park for 2 days. And we'll be providing some support for that as well. We just finished Riverfest, and so we help with the setup, not much during the event, but afterwards there's always a lot of cleanup and always inspection on the site. So people don't realize how much effort it takes for our department to support all these activities.
You guys do an awesome job. Doug is not here to speak on the Park Foundation.
Yes, I attended the last Park Foundation meeting and talked a little bit about creating a little bit more of a long-term plan, a strategic plan in regards to their fundraising. and then how to apply those funds to certain projects. What kind of criteria we're going to use. Talked a little bit about the city's master plan, the Parks and Recreation master plan, and that future projects funded through the Park Foundation should be outlined within our master plan.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's kind of what we talked about.
All right, well, Troy, I just have more of a comment than anything, so.
We are obviously facing, I guess it's presumed we're gonna face a budget deficit as a city. I guess as a park foundation, or as a park, Board of Park Commissioners, I guess I think it's assumed that we're gonna take cuts as a park department. We identified, I mean, you mentioned quality of life. Have we gone and identified how much are we able to cut and not lose? And obviously, it's gonna put a stretch on our staff and the team, but we started looking at those things like.
Yes, it's not necessarily for 2025, but it goes into 2026.
Sure.
And there's basically 3 stages that we're looking at.
Okay.
And it really depends on what truly is the reality of our. One of our first strategies or the first options is kind of creating more revenue. And so we're looking at different ways to create more revenue. One of the things that going to be a big impact is going to be coming this fall when we start charging non-residents a non-resident fee for our facilities and our programs. It's going to really kind of impact a lot of our rentals because we're going to have 2 stage in regards to, hey, you're a non-resident, you pay this rate, just higher than a non-resident. That's going to generate more revenue for us, but it's not anything that's just really outrageous. As always, when we do this, we research far underneath industry prices by a lot. Another part of that strategy is getting in more clearance. Put things in regards to, the example is this year, we're offering a lot of free swim lessons through the American Red Cross. So I think that grant was in the neighborhood of $50,000. So it's all these little things for that first level. The next level is involves golf. And I think it's the tier 2, isn't it? Yeah. Require golf to pay back their debt service that they have. I think we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 to $4 million ish. I can't.
400,000 for 377,000 a year total, 5.7.
Yeah. Well, hold on a second. The actual debt itself, I think it's between $3 and $4 million, somewhere around there. Now, the plan asks for what you just mentioned. So it's between $300,000 and $400,000 a year paying back. So we'll see how that works out. That's something that I'm not very supportive at all for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last bottom level is putting a savings of $1.5 million in our park maintenance. So that would be a combination of things in regards to reducing staffing, using our contract maintenance, which would reduce standards.
Those are the things we don't want to do.
And in some regards, looking at the bigger picture and how other departments are going to be impacted, faring a little bit better than other departments, that's because we're already getting cut to the bone. Right. So, yeah. And a big question is going to be service delivery. What's that expectation?
Well, I mean, the Parks Department, like we've shown today, I mean, and every day is, you do a lot to improve the quality of life of every Wichitan. And so our hope is that we don't, we're already cut to the bone, we don't get to the point where we can't sustain
what you guys can do is two things, obviously talk to your council members. There's also a budget simulator that's on the website, and I've already visited it, where I've went through the scales and obviously put more money towards parks and less money in the departments. And for some reason that really seems to resonate as a measuring tool of what the community wants. So suggest you that share with other folks.
Yeah. Where's that simulator at? You sent it to us via email?
But it's right on the website.
Okay. On the website. I just haven't seen it.
Then you look at it.
Appreciate
it. Back to the debt on the golf. It'd probably take some time to do it, but the difference of housing on the golf course. Bunch of houses on this compared to what would have been built. No, and I know some people that were around when that happened. It's a huge difference, and the city's made back way more money than they lived out in property tax revenue based on the $600,000 house compared to the $200,000 that would have been built without that. But, and I know they've talked about just wiping it clean. It's if they just want to get it off the book somehow, right? Either pay it back or let's forget about it or something.
Well, we've been talking about that for 6 years now.
Yeah.
And 6 years ago, we talked about that. Council members, she came on and started talking about that. The next thing you know, we're into COVID and some other things popped up. We haven't paid back what's on the books, and that books is not a loan or anything that we owe the city bank. It's to the city CIP. And so we're not paying interest on this. So one of the things that we've been doing is paying that back. It's great because all that money we've been able to sow back into the golf program.
Would that really slow down the plans for new irrigation though? And that's, I guess if you were to present to council, I don't know who has that call. It's council or not, whether it's given or
council.
If you were to present to them some, study of what the city would have made if these houses would have been built as opposed to what is there, and the money that, how much more they've made, they might be more willing to just wipe it free. That's just my.
You guys need to share that with your council.
So yeah, I have. So
the other part of it too is the golf committee needs to do that as well. And these are not new arguments. It's been 6 years we've talked about this. That area is more than paid what that is in regards to debt.
I think more than what they thought even, I think.
However, debt is still on the books.
Yeah, something has to happen.
And quite easily could be liquidated. Zero. So what I have an issue with is when we're dealing with other enterprise facilities, other enterprise funds. A good example is water. Water's enterprise. They do not and cannot be from the water into the general fund. What the water department generates is for them to be self-sustaining, add more pipe, make the pipe repairs, update their equipment, modernize computers and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, that same argument should be for the golf enterprise. That the golf enterprise should not be going into the general fund to pay for police, to pay for fire and other things that's in the general fund. However, one of the things that's kind of difficult to argue about that is that we have taken money from capital projects or from the general fund. So.
And we probably will need for irrigation too.
And that's the argument is if you want us to pay back this debt and give money back to the CIP, which actually the whole reason why that's being suggested is to move debt to another area so we're not incurring so much interest. Which is actually saving the general fund. It's a whole strategy that Mark Manning from the finance department has come up with. That's just going to pull away from any opportunities to get that. So Jesse and I have talked about this over and over again, back and forth. We made the ask for capital dollars in the past 5, 6, 7 years. And we've gotten a little bit of money to come. One example is the newest golf carts, but the generation before, a lot of that came from savings. Some other small capital dollars to the golf courses. But the idea is what wipe out the debt, put in a program to save enough money to hopefully pay for. Right. So
Is that a really slow way down if they had to make that 400,000 a year payment? I think that was the number, or 15, yeah.
all right.
They're gonna quit watching budget workshops.
I appreciate it. That you do.
Troy, you got the last word? I'll help you.
Download the app. Find a bunch of kids, take them to the swimming pools, go to McAdams pool.
What's the name of the park, Nick? I was walking Mac today, but Mountain Park, what is it right on next to 8? What is the name of that little park there? Is that one of ours?
Oh,
It's really small.
Sleepy Hollow?
Yeah, it could have been. I don't.
By Mac?
I didn't see any signage. Yeah, it's right there next to number 18.
Oh, no, that's just part of the golf course.
Oh, it's on the other side of the fence. That's why I was wondering. Okay, all right. It looks like a walking path of some sort.
It's all part of that golf course.
Oh, okay.
All right,
All right.
you got anything else? Okay. Adjourn. Andy, will you send or were you sending that thing for Friday or you just want to go?
I'll do the.
You're good. Brandon sent it to me, so.
Oh, it's right in front of Brewer.
Yeah. Start at 9, so get 8 or 8.
No, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll be there. I've got a 10 o'clock, but I usually. My office is down there. I'm at 21st and